Alright, now we're going to talk about the back stitch, and I'm going to employ some tools to help make this as straight as possible. I don't stitch straight, I don't walk straight, I don't have a straight thing that I do. I don't know, I'm just all over the place. So I'm going to use the ruler and the disappearing ink to help me. So I've made my nice little straight line on here, and now I'm going to take my needle and my big old knot, and I'm going to come from the back. And so the back stitch is a very sturdy stitch, and people like it because it looks just like what a sewing machine would do, but obviously this is a much bigger scale so you can see it. So it uses up a little more thread than the running stitch, but that's what it creates, a nice sturdy line. Pretend it's straight. Remember, I don't do anything straight. So to start, we're going to take our needle from the back of the fabric. We're always coming from the back or the inside of whatever we're doing. Why? So we can hide that big ass knot. Sorry, big old knot. I like to call it a BAK, the big ass knot. I like big knots. Okay, so see, I didn't even come up right on the line. So we're going to pretend I did. Back stitch, we have our thread with our big old knot there. I'm going to take a stitch in, and this distance right here determines how big the stitches are going to be. You can make them whatever size you want. You can go real close, real far. I'm going far for demonstration purposes. So I make my first stitch as though I'm doing a running stitch, but instead of coming back up here like my next stitch, I am going to come back up right there for my next stitch, but instead of driving down the road or down the lane over here, I'm going to come back. This is why it's called the back stitch. You go back and you put the needle in almost in the same hole that the first one came out of, and I'm going to pull gently. And see how I have these two nice stitches right next to each other, and they're straight because I actually use a marker. Now on the underside, you're going to see what you made just now, that stitch. Now you're going to go over here, and you're going to try and come up the same distance. Yep, see I'm not, yeah, oh yeah, I am on the line. Woohoo! You're going to come up the same distance away so that you have evenly spaced stitches. We're keeping it flat the whole time. We don't want to pull too tight, otherwise it'll look a little wonky. So, whoops, see, I pulled it too tight. So if you do pull it tight, take your needle, go underneath and just gently loosen it, and then pull to the right tension. Now I'm going to go dive in right next to where I was, and this is a very dull needle, so I got to wiggle it to get it in the felt. So I'm going back in right next to that previous stitch. I'm going to pull it out, and there you go, there's my third stitch. Alright, let's see on the underside. I'm going to look under here and see how we made that big jump underneath to come out on the far side, and then we went back. So this is looking correct. Now I'm going to take another stab at this, literally. Alright, we've come out on our line. Our line is quickly disappearing because it is disappearing ink. So redo your line if you have to. I've come out far away. Now I'm going to go back in very close to where that previous stitch was, trying the whole time to stay on the line. If you want, you can mark every single place where you want a stitch. That's totally up to you, but I'm just eyeballing it because right now it doesn't matter. I want you to get the technique. That's more important right now. So up like a big distance, you know, equidistant from the last stitch. And we're going to go back down very close to that previous stitch. Okay. And I'm just going to keep going, and it does take up more thread than the running stitch. See how we're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and here's the previous sample. That's a lot more thread than the running stitch. Running stitch is just literally a straight line, so you will have to compensate for that. If you're doing a big project, you need more thread. Okay, let's see if I can get this straight again. Oh, almost. Okay, now we have our back stitch. And it's a pretty sturdy stitch because it has all of this holding the fabric in place. Okay, there we go. Back stitch, done. Alright, I lied. Back stitch is not done. If you want to go a little bit faster, here's the trick. So you come up your equidistant amount on that, whoops, let's see if I can get it on the line. Alright, on the line. So let's start here. The way to do it a little faster is to go down and then come up at the same time in the same motion. Let's see if I can do it. See, look at that. Look at that. So I have the same stitch size here and here, and I pull it out and it ends up with my thread on the top. So I'm ready to go for the next one. Down, and then make sure you're taking the right size stitch. Looks pretty good. Alright, let's use the left hand here for demonstration purposes. Okay, so there's the quicker way to get the back stitch done. One more for fun. Oop. There you go. And it's easier because you can, do you see how I'm, you know, I've got my needle and I'm looking around for where to bring it? I can see it better because it's the front. Okay, and there's the quicker way to do the back stitch. Now we're done.